found all the, adapting it all to video? Because you probably have, like everybody else, are doing far more Zoom stuff and turning up on videos and sending video messages and stuff. How's that affected you? How have you coped with it?
Well, I think for everyone, it's almost been a bit of a sort of baptism of fire. And because we've had to suddenly have no other option, but it's our only means of communication, actually it's felt quite comfortable a lot more quickly than I anticipated it would do. And I think that is the case for a lot of people. I know that there are still many people out there who sort of are struggling with being on screen sort of quite so much. Hopefully that won't be an issue for most of the people here today in your lines of work. But I think it has been a big adjustment for everyone all the same. And I can imagine even doing things like castings has been very, very different. Or I don't know if many people here are used to pre-recording some things and sending them over, but perhaps not having live castings across platforms like Zoom.
Yeah. So I think you're right. We've just been thrown in at the deep end, a lot of us, haven't we? And it's not so bad, this video presenting malarkey, is it? It's quite good fun actually when you get into it. It's all right. And it means as well that we don't have to go out. We can do it from home. So super.
Exactly. And all you need is a tidy corner.
Yeah, talking of tidy corners, I'm not quite sure of mine. This isn't my normal living room, by the way. I've been doing filming this week. So if, I don't actually live usually with studio lights and all of that malarkey behind me. It's just I've been too lazy to put it all away. So that's why I've got lights up at the moment, just in case anybody was wondering. So it's 10 o'clock and hello to everybody who's joining us. Nice to see you. We've had a few weeks break over summer. It's a bit quiet. I think a lot of people are on holiday, but we're back. We're back, and we're back with a very, very special guest today. Now, your surname, I'm bound to pronounce wrong, but it's Sarah Biancardi.
Perfect. You just say it as you see it.
That's a
no special pronunciation needed.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's quite an exotic surname. That is it. Italian, or is it some wonderful place you've come from?
Well, it's either Italian or Maltese. It's my husband's surname, so I've married into the name, so I'm probably not half as exotic as most of you were expecting me to know.
No, sure you are. So how would you describe you your profession, what you do? I mean, it's, for somebody like me, it's sort of like designer, or you help me put the right clothes on? I'm sure there's a better way of explaining it.
So I tend to describe it as image consultancy or personal styling with a bit of a difference. So unlike your sort of normal personal stylist, it's not about dressing you to look like you have fallen off the latest runway, or to make you look like you're, sort of fresh off the catwalk or lifted straight out of a magazine. It's about dressing the person that you are for your everyday life and according to your lifestyle and your budget. And the reason that this is so important is it gives us that natural confidence. So when we dress for the person that we are on the inside, then there's that, it sort of brings us into sync. Because when there's consistency between communicating who we are on the inside and on the outside, then that's when we really, really gain other people's trust and credibility. And that's where we're at our most visible, most memorable. And I think especially in the line of work that all of you are in today, being sort of seen and having your individual voice heard and being remembered for the right reasons is absolutely crucial. So the two core services that we offer at House of Colour is the personal style. So it's developing your personal style. And the way that we do that is it's deep rooted in psychology. So we work with your personality. And we also look at your bone structure and your vertical measurements, and we look at your proportions. Now, these things do not change no matter if you've sort of put on or lost weight. Your biggest parts will generally always be your biggest parts, and your smallest parts will generally always be your smallest parts. So what it does is it gives you the tools to become your own personal stylist effectively, and understand how to dress you for your everyday life, and understand how to dial it up and dial it down for different occasions. And where I think this is really pertinent for all of you is you are operating in such a crowded marketplace, and honing in your personal brand is just so crucial, and having a really sort of firm idea of who are you at your core, when you're not trying to be the you that you're trying to be, that you think you need to be, or that you think you need to be to get a certain job. You want people to see you and buy into you for being you. And that's where image consultants like me come in. Okay. The other core service that we offer is colour analysis. So you may have noticed this very colourful wheel behind me. Now, House of Colour works with a really, really robust system of colour analysis. It's designed to catch people who are really, really difficult to analyse, that fall perhaps between, we work to a seasonal analysis basis, so we catch the people that would otherwise perhaps fall between seasons. This is not something that you can do online. So the personal styling offering is something that can be done virtually, but colour analysis has to be done face to face. And it was something that during lockdown we of course looked into to see, is this something that can work and translate online? But it doesn't. I mean, I've had a look on screen and it looks like I'm wearing a bright red lipstick. I'm actually wearing a pink lipstick. But the colours, what's really crucial is that we wear the colours that harmonise with the natural undertones in our skin, because even if there's distortion between the colours that we see on screen and the colours that we see in reality, if it's harmonising with your natural skin tone, it's going to harmonise with what you see on screen. So just to show you, I've brought a few little props with me. So I've chosen the colour green, which again, given things like green screens, probably isn't the most helpful colour for you all, but just to give you a quick demonstration. So here, you can see this drape. This is from the autumn palette. And what you can see is I kind of disappear. Now, as if by magic, my ring light's just gone off. So I'm going to turn that on quickly because that wasn't something I did. Oh, no, it doesn't want to. Well, hopefully you can still see me. Yeah. What you can see is this colour is doing sort of nothing for me. It's kind of washing me out. It's not bringing anything to the table. No one's going to remember me in this colour. Let's try a lighter green. This one is from the spring palette. It's quite light, splashy, but you're seeing this kind of separation between me and the drape. It's almost like I'm sort of a floating head. Now, remember I said you want to be memorable and visible, but for the right reasons. So you don't want a colour to walk in before you. And often this is when people say things like, oh, I love that top. That's a great top. But the kind of compliments we want to get are, you look great. Have you been away? And of course, no one much has been away right now, so that might not be a question that you get asked. But that you want to look like you're well rested and radiant. This is a green from the winter palette, and suddenly what you should be able to see is that I come into focus. So the colour isn't competing with me, it's not washing me out. You can see that it ties in with my natural hair colour, the makeup that I've had perfectly matched to my skin tone. Another thing we do, so this is specifically for the women, of course, unless it's something the men are interested in. We matched lipsticks as well. And we do this under natural light, because so often what happens is you have your makeup done under sort of strip lights or fluorescent lights, and it doesn't, then you get that separation. So often you'll hear makeup artists say, oh, just blend it down your neck so that you don't get that sort of tide mark. But actually, if the makeup is matched to your natural skin tone perfectly, you don't need to blend it. Yeah. Because everything's toned. Just to show you the importance of lipstick, so this is for women. Men, you can keep your facial hair perfectly groomed. I just want to show you the impact for women that having the right shade of lipstick has. So I'm not sure if any of you have got me pinned. I can just see all of your faces on the screen. If you haven't got me pinned, then I'd recommend pinning me for this. So you can see that I've got a lipstick on. Hopefully what you're not seeing is sort of, oh, Sarah's got lipstick on. You're just seeing me look in focus. I'm going to take this off. And what you should be able to see, suddenly, I've lost a bit of impact, and all I've done is taken my lipstick off.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing,
I can't see you anymore.
Well, this is it. So to be memorable, keeping your facial hair really groomed. If you want to keep that area defined, think you know, what kind of facial hair, if you choose to have any, is going to work best for you. And if, or maybe having no facial hair is going to show off your sort of defined jawline, or whatever it is that you want to convey. But women, do not underestimate the power of the right shade of lipstick,
Yeah.
especially your line of work, because it's not about looking like you're wearing a ton of makeup. It's about being visible and memorable for the right reasons. So I'm also just going to show you something else that we cover in the style sessions, which is about the impact that accessories, that well-chosen accessories can have. And I always think that this is a really fun one to do. So I've taken my lipstick off. You can see that I've done that. Now, we are programmed to associate accessories with status and authority. And this dates back right to sort of, well, even before Henry VIII's time, when he passed a legislation called sumptuary law. And this was where he dictated how he wanted people of particular ranks and statures in society to dress, so that he could decide how it was appropriate to address them. And there were serious fines if you didn't adhere to this, to these guidelines that he set out. You could end up sort of in prison, or you could have an enormous fine. And it was just, you would not dress above your station. So somebody who was a servant, for example, would not be able to dress with as many embellishments as somebody who had a much higher standing in society. So this follows through today, and we see it typically in the military as well. Now, what you can see is, so men in the military would typically, they would have something like a hat to carry their authority, but obviously men, I'm not going to suggest that you necessarily wear a hat for your lines of work, but you have your hair. So keeping your hair really well groomed is really important. I've added a point of interest in mine. So something, especially women, you might want to think about is adding a point of interest. So if I take this away, and this is all about having the impact and carrying the authority, because when you show authority when you convey authority through how you dress, then you have more of a lasting impact and your words carry more authority. So already, who am I? I've got no lipstick on, I've tied my hair back. I'm going to take my earrings off. And my necklace. So men, you may have a collar or a tie. Women may also have a collar. I've got my necklace on today, so I've taken that off.
It does make a huge difference, doesn't it?
Take my brooch off.
Yeah.
Understanding the scale of accessories and the colour metals that are right for you is also really crucial. And can you see, now I'm showing quite a lot of flesh, and actually that's not a very professional look. So typically, the darker the colour, the more authority we carry. But you can just see how I don't look totally boring because I'm wearing a colour that flatters me, but suddenly
it's very different. It's a very
reaction to me is so different to how I was when I appeared on the screen.
Yeah.
And again, it's the same because people are looking at all of us. So on the wrist, so men, you may have your buttons or collars. You may want to think about how you have those rolled up, or if you roll them up. Having something on each arm, always wearing a watch, so important, because it shows others the value that we place on both their time and our own. A lot of people are wearing smartwatches now, which I think depending on the kind of areas you're going into, yes, of course, sometimes that's entirely appropriate, but it's good to have sort of a kind of traditional timepiece on your wrist as well.
Oh,
Can you see
that's
why it's so important to get it right? So unlike a traditional personal stylist, a house of colour image consultant isn't going to train you to, they're not going to say, right, you need to come back and see me every single season so that I can make sure that your look is always current. We do provide things like fashion updates for all of our clients, and we can have continued sessions for anyone that wants them. But ultimately, by the end of a style consultation and a colour consultation, you will understand exactly which colours and which styles suit you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So then if you have an interest in things like what's in fashion, you will immediately know which ones apply to you and which ones just aren't going to do anything for you, and you can leave them to other people. And what this is really about is, it's not about what you look like. Yes, it is about the impact that you have on other people, but it's about the natural confidence that you can carry when you're dressing.
Now, I wanted to ask you about that because depending on what you wear, you do actually feel different in yourself as well, don't you? So I know if I'm wearing trainers and a pair of jeans and what have you, I feel totally different than if I've got smart trousers on and a pair of shoes, for example. And so there is something going on in here with what we're putting on clothes-wise, but it also affects people how they see you. Like you've just demonstrated, there's two so different sort of feels of Sarah there, like you had like that authority and quite
I'm going to have to put it back on now, or you probably will all stop listening to me because I've lost my authority.
And then the other one, yeah, you had that authority, and then the other side was a lot more sort of relaxed and a lot more informal, and I don't know. So you mentioned earlier on about it's about reflecting your inner sort of brand, your inner you. How do you go about finding what the inner thing is from a person, and then how do you put a color or a style to it?
So it's a really hard thing to try and figure out yourself. It's certainly not something that I was able to figure out for myself. I went through the process myself with House of Colour when I was 18. I had my colours analysed, and then I returned when I was 19 to have my style analysed. So I've lived with all of that knowledge throughout my 20s and now into my 30s of understanding what suits me, what doesn't suit me, and why. But also what it's given me is it's given me that permission to be me. Now, it's really hard to, we all sort of carry so many different elements to our personalities, and we might say, oh, well, you know, I show more of this side of my personality when I'm with this group of people, and then in a professional context, you know, I would show more this side of my personality. And of course, you know, that is going to be the case, but there will be a consistent thread to who you are at the core. And it's generally the part of us that isn't sort of learned behaviours, or the us that we've learned to be, or that we, even if we feel like it is truly a part of us, when we use this psychology-based analysis, it's based on Carl Jung's personality archetypes. So it's really sort of deeply rooted in psychology. And what it enables us to do is understand, well, who is the real person that we're dressing? And then how do we take that and make it work with the body that you've been given? Because it's about wearing clothes that fit us now, not when we look like supermodels. Which is a completely unrealistic ideal for, I think, just about everybody. But it's through these really detailed consultations where we really dig deep. It's almost more like a therapy session. So it becomes quite emotional for a lot of people. And also for the colour analysis, I have 144 precision dyed drapes in my studio. So what I'm doing there is I'm looking at the balance in the undertones in your skin. I will also be able to advise you what hair colours to colour your hair in, if you do want to continue to colour your hair, or if you're wondering whether you should stick with what nature has given you. Wearing colours that flatter us will always make our natural hair colour look more vibrant and bring us sort of into focus. It's essentially, you can't guess. I can't guess just by looking at anybody on a screen or having anyone walk through my studio doors what they are. It's a detailed process. So we're looking at, are the undertones in your skin predominantly warm-based or cool-based? And are the undertones clear and bright or more muted and blended? So just to give you a bit of an idea, winter and spring are our clear and bright seasons, but winter is a blue-based or cool-based season, and spring is a warm-based and clear and bright season. So what you also, I don't know if you'll be able to make this out on the screen, but there are two different coloured metals surrounding the two parts of the frame. So we've got winter and summer, which are our cool-based seasons at the bottom, and they're surrounded by silver. So if you are somebody who has blue-based undertones to your skin, silver metals are going to look more expensive on you. And if you are someone with warm undertones to your skin, then gold coloured metals are going to look more expensive on you. So I've mentioned about the clear and bright seasons being winter and spring. Now summer and autumn, they're more blended in their quality. So we would expect to have someone with more blended undertones in their skin to better suit these colours. So it's really looking at the reaction that the different colours has on the undertones in your skin. It can completely change the colour of your skin, but also how you see people. And it's been used in film and in TV for years and years. So pretty much as soon as colour was able to be used on screen, in old school Hollywood, they were using colour to impact how trustworthy or sinister we might perceive other characters. So for example, if you had like a mafia character, then you want to convey that they're untrustworthy, and you will do that through the style of their clothes, but also the colour of clothes. For example, if you have somebody who is an autumn and who is wearing a black suit, that's going to give them a 5 o'clock shadow, even if they're freshly shaved. So again, it will make them look more sinister and less trustworthy by putting them in the wrong colours. So just have a look when you sort of next watch TV, and really sort of focus on the face. Are you drawn to the colour of the person, the colour that the person is wearing, or are they looking sort of in focus? Are you drawn to them? It's something you'll be able to hone your eye in much better once you've had a colour consultation.
So this gets really complex, doesn't it? Because if my face shape and skin tones and everything are actually colours of untrustworthiness and all the negative sort of things we consider, what do I do? Because that might not be personality.
No, so nobody has a skin tone that's untrustworthy. Sorry, I probably didn't explain that particularly well. So I'm not saying that anybody who sits in the autumn palette has an untrustworthy complexion at all, but it's just that we lose that element of trustworthiness once we wear colours that don't suit us. So I'm a winter, for example. Now, if I wear colours in the autumn palette, you can see suddenly it's not it's like it's not fitting in over here.
Yeah.
And I'm losing that. Immediately what you should be able to think is, yeah, this person is all in focus and they look like they've got it together, everything's harmonizing. This is very subtle subliminal stuff, so you won't necessarily be actively having these thought processes. But what you might think is, I just can't put my finger on it, but there's something about that person that I just don't trust, and I can't figure out why. And that could be down to the colours that they're wearing, or it could be that they're presenting themselves through their clothing and accessory choices in a way that doesn't reflect, again, who they are on the inside. Okay. So it's really about this is really about sort of marginal gains, and especially in a crowded marketplace, how can you give yourself the edge? If you're pitted against people who have really similar skills and experience levels, or perhaps operating in the same kind of niche that you are, how do you give yourself the edge over those other people? And purely by understanding how to dress your natural colouring and your body and your personality, you're going to be sort of 10 steps ahead of anyone else.
Yeah. So what I'm getting is that there's no. One of the questions I was going to ask you is, are there any big no-nos that nobody should? Is this? I've heard this thing. Is it yellow and green should never be seen? I mean, that's about all the style I know. But are there any big no-nos, or is it more? It's an individual no-nos depending on the colour of tones of your own skin and personality and stuff.
So there are definitely some myths out there, like, for example, that black suits everybody. Black actually sits in the winter palette, and it doesn't sit anywhere else. So society tells us, that men need a black suit and white shirts, and that women need little black dresses. And actually, the only colour which is universally flattering is true or primary red. So think of the colour of old phone boxes or post boxes. It's got equal flow of all colours running through it. All other colours, including the undertones in our skin, are affected by how much yellow and how much blue they have in them. So think back to your days of primary school when you were mixing the primary colours of paint. So that red paint is your true primary red. And that will suit everyone. It's not necessarily going to be your best shade of red, but it will suit you. So if in doubt about, oh gosh, I really have seen the impact this lipstick is making, but how do I know which shade to buy or wear before I've had a colour analysis? Then punt for primary red or true red. So you just need to think, if it looks a bit tomatoey, it's probably got more yellow in it. It's probably warm based. And if it's got more, if it looks more sort of cherry red, it's going to have more blue in it. It's cooler. So somewhere in the middle, if you think, oh, I don't think it looks particularly warm or cool, somewhere in the middle, that's going to be your true or primary red. So again, men, buy a true primary red jumper or sweater or jacket, because that's going to be, again, it may not be your best shade of red, but it is going to look, if you're unsure of which colours suit you, it's going to be better than just taking a stab in the dark.
Yeah. Do we need to consider as well, because, you know, there's so many different types of experts out there, people who are talking about, maybe they're talking about therapy, maybe they're talking about technology, maybe they're talking about politics. Now, if I'm talking about some sort of, I don't know, a therapy to help people through hard times, for example, do I want to be, even though red might suit me, do I want to be wearing this red? Does that sort of say danger in a way? Does that have an effect on the person looking at it? And I'm better off going for a more purpley, or I don't know, is there another colour that's more soothing, more relaxing, more, you know, safety, rather than red, which I think is, you know, danger, look out, I mean business.
Absolutely, and it can of course depend on the kind of environments or situations that you are putting yourself into, and there are definitely colours out there that have kind of a more calming or more nurturing influence. You've got your sort of greens and your blues, which have a really sort of calming effect. We can also convey a more nurturing side through how we make our clothing and accessory choices. So for example, if you are wearing something with a slightly more rounded neckline or sort of rounded details, then that's going to convey that more sort of nurturing, relatable quality. Again, very, very subtle, but you can imagine that if you're seeing somebody wearing sort of a lot of very angular stuff, accessories or embellishments, that's going to be sending out different messages to somebody who's wearing perhaps rounded shapes. It's about making yourself sort of more nurturing and more relatable. So yes, absolutely, the colours that we wear and the shape styles of accessories and clothes that we're wearing, they are all sending out these little messages, and so understanding how to take control of those and control which messages we send out is really crucial.
Okay, so you must get this all the time, and you're probably sick of it, but people must say to you, so Sarah, what do my clothes say about me? What are you picking up? What is this? So I'm going to ask you to look at me, because I don't know if there's any control going on here at all. So have a look at these babies. Look at
right,
that.
Brian, I'm going to pick, oh my goodness, it's like a party's going on.
How do you like?
So what I would say was, so that was very unexpected, seeing your trousers. And what I always say to people, especially if you have a meeting, or if you have any sort of appointment or casting on screen, dress your whole body, because you never know when you're going to have to leave the room or stand up, whether it be because the Amazon man's come, or because something's happening with the kids in the background, or because you're asked to stand up. Perhaps you're asked to stand up for some reason, and if you've only dressed the top half, one, it doesn't look very professional. And I'm not saying that you don't look professional, Brian, you look fantastic, but think about the images that you want to convey, but also think about what it will do for your confidence. So if you are, for example, I'm wearing high heels and I'm wearing smart trousers because I want to be mentally fully in this session. If I'm only dressed from the waist up, then I'm only mentally half in. And this is something called enclosed cognition, where studies have been conducted where they found that by people dressing in, I think during the experiment, they used the example of doctors' lab coats, and they set the subjects tasks, and those wearing the doctor's lab coats, they were outperforming those that were just wearing sort of normal everyday clothes. So it does have that impression of being it's all about the psychology of it. It's helping to just give us those marginal gains, and it's helping to give you that extra confidence boost when you need it, but also it is going to affect the way that others perceive you. Now, Brian, you asked me sort of what I thought of what you were wearing.
Yes.
So what I would say is that you're wearing glasses, and they look like they're quite a good sort of shape, and they look like they're a good scale for your face shape. But it's adding that point of interest. So in the absence of, say, a collar on your shirt, on your top, or in absence of, say, a woman wearing jewellery, just putting something like glasses on, it's adding that point of interest into your look, and it's actually making you look sort of more groomed for it. So I can see you've got the detailing on your top. That's quite an interesting detailing. Now, what I would be looking to do in a style session is I would be looking to understand if that's the right kind of detail for you, and also what kind of impression you would want to be projecting in different situations, and in different environments. So this is a Saturday call, it's fairly relaxed, and I think that is how you're coming across. And actually you want to come across relaxed because you want everyone in this call to feel relaxed, and you presumably want to appear approachable and relatable, and perhaps if you turn up in a full suit, that's going to alienate everyone else in this call.
It would, and plus the fact I don't have one.
Well, that speaks volumes as well about your potential personal style. So that's a really interesting thing to note. Now, your trousers, really, really interesting, really interesting.
So what do they say? I mean, apart from lunatic.
Well, if you look at, so they looked like they had quite diffused pattern and a relaxed structure. So I would be thinking this is somebody who is quite relaxed in his approach. And then I would be looking to see, is your behaviour consistent with that? Or am I getting some mixed messages?
Oh, it's intriguing, isn't it? Right, I'm going to book my session. Where do I sign? And that demonstration you did at the beginning there was so, for me anyway, I don't know about if you guys agree, but it just, the transformation in like 10 seconds with just taking a few bits off and a different color in front of your face. I mean, it was really impact. I mean, it was amazing. So just to be able to know what colors, what styles, what points of interest, I've never even heard that. I had a quote here. I did a bit of research, Sarah. You'll be impressed. Coco Chanel said, if a woman is badly dressed, sexist, it's the dress that you'll remember, but if she's impeccably dressed, then it's her that you'll notice. Yeah,
absolutely. And actually, you don't want people to remember your clothes. You want them to remember you.
So now I'm thinking about my trousers, because now people remember them, don't they? Because the other thing is, joking aside, when we go to a casting, when we're filming at home at a self-shooting casting or audition or whatever it might be, we do want to be noticed. And I think what is potentially a mistake sometimes is putting on a pair of daft trousers like that to try and be remembered, or should they actually remember me rather than what I was wearing? It's a hard one. If they remember you, the guy with the trousers, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it depends if your personality goes with that. So if you are as out there as your trousers are, then actually there's not a mismatch. And maybe for that type of role that you are going for, maybe that's entirely appropriate. And they think this is just the kind of person that we need in this position. So I can't imagine it. I'm afraid it's one of those things where there is sort of no set answer. What I will say is I can imagine that when it comes to things like rehearsing for, when it comes to things like maybe you're rehearsing lines, or you're preparing for a casting call, or however it is it works for you, often you're your appearance can be sort of, oh yeah, oh gosh, I need to, and what do I wear and how do I present myself? Not that it's necessarily an afterthought, but it's a piece of the puzzle. And just taking the time and the agonizing out of, right, this is the kind of vibe they're going for, this is the kind of, this is what I need to convey, I think I'm a really good fit for this, how do I show that in a really credible way? How do I gain their trust? And if you dress as someone that you're not, and then you've got that mismatch between perhaps your charisma, how you're appearing on screen, and then how you're behaving and how you're dressing, then it is going to be sending these mixed signals. And then maybe they've got a question mark on you. Whereas this person that's absolutely got it nailed. I mean, like, what I would hope that you would see is, through how I've presented myself, yes, there are some, as I've said, points of interest. Now, our cameo area, or our communication triangle, is the area that is most important, because this is the area that people look at the most, particularly on screen. But of course, people look at all of us. And if we're going to be on screen, then it's really important that we think about how we're dressing ourselves and how we're presenting ourselves from top to toe. But what I would hope is that I'm dressed in such a way that there's nothing really distracting. You know, don't be remembered as the guy with the crazy trousers or the girl with the crazy earrings, because actually then you're not being remembered, and that's what will get you the jobs, and that's what will further your career. But I'm not saying, please do not think, Brian, that I'm saying ditch the trousers.
Never.
We would have to go through, so a style consultation, it takes up to 6 hours. Oh, wow. So it's a very detailed process, because we're looking at how do we layer all of this information together. We need to understand who you are. We need to understand your body architecture, so your natural body geometry, and we need to understand how we put that information together. So we dress the body, the personality, we dress you for your lifestyle, and maybe you've got really contrasting elements to your lifestyle. Maybe you're someone who's really casual and relaxed, but you're having to present yourself in a certain way in your professional life that takes you sort of outside of that natural relaxed zone. So it's looking at, well, how do you do that? How do you dial it up and dial it back down and still retain that consistency and credibility?
Yeah, it does sound really, really complex, because the other thing is, of course, I mean, ladies probably have a point of interest. It's with maybe earrings, with something in your hair, a brooch, something like that. But for fellas, apart from a little bit of facial hair that we tend to keep well trimmed, is there anything else? I mean, we can't really put anything in our hair so much. Well, you can, but it might be a bit odd.
So this is where I would say, actually, you can. There are things you can do. Yes, I think women probably can play around more than men can, but actually getting a hairstyle that is just right for you, and again mirrors your sort of internal personality as well, but also works with the kind of hair that you've been given, making sure that your facial hair is well groomed, or deciding, do I want to make a feature of it? What kind of messages am I sending out if I choose to have, and what kind of audiences are likely to resonate with me if I choose to go for full facial hair versus being clean shaven? Something that you can do as well is think about the kind of details around a collar. So do you go for a collar? Do you not go for a collar? Typically, for a smarter look, go for a crisper collar. And again, go for sort of more structured materials. And all these things, again, it's sort of very subtle, but it will give off these messages, and it will project these messages of someone who is well groomed and is well put together. Maybe you've got little details. Maybe you're someone who likes to have a cravat, or maybe the kind of role that you're going for, maybe wearing a tie is appropriate. So understanding the shirt colours and the ties. And also, when we look at the men's style element, we also look at things like which type of collars are going to best suit you. And which style of collars and how you tie a tie. We look at features and details of things like shirts as well, to make sure that the quality sort of speaks for itself. You're buying less but buying better, and ultimately, and this applies for women as well, you're only buying things that will suit you. be that you love and see you're going to wear again and again and again.
Yeah.
So it's helping you shop in a more sort of focused way, but it's going to save you a ton of time and a ton of money as well.
Yeah. I think you know, I know I'm a little bit guilty of this, and I'm sure lots of people are to a certain extent, but I very often will go for comfort over whatever the hell it looks like. I'm not all that bothered most of the time. I mean, as long as I don't look like I was going to say a sort of what was I going to say? An eco warrior or something, but actually, having said that, I do look like an eco. But yeah, I very often go for comfort over style and looking smart and all the rest of it. But how does that work then? Because we need to feel right on the inside with our clothes, but also we need to project that image in the correct way. So is there a balance? Do we have to just take it on the chin sometimes and go, okay, look, sometimes it is going to feel a little bit less comfy than my slacks and my eco warrior outfit?
So it sounds like you're somebody who really, really feels the need and the pull towards clothes that have a lot of comfort and practicality within them. So for example, the function of an item is always going to win over how it sort of fares in the fashion stakes. And that's, you're definitely not alone in that. And the same can be said for many, many other people. And this isn't about, really, it's about saying when you do need to dress sort of outside of your comfort zone, when you need to sort of not turn up looking like, as you described it, an eco warrior. I mentioned it's about knowing sort of how to dial it up and dial it down for different occasions. So you will always be carrying that thread of, this is who I am. This is who I am, and this, what you see is what you will get, because our style speaks before we do. I think there's a famous sort of Rachel Zoe quote where she says, style is a way of saying who you are without having to speak. So keeping that consistency in there, even if you need to be dressing in a smarter or more formal way, is really important. But maybe what it's going to do is give you the confidence to say, I can dress in a more formal way, but I'm not going to be doing it in the way that everyone else is doing, because formal for me needs to look different to how formal looks for other people. And just being able to accept that and understand that about yourself, but then crucially understand how you can effectively do a more formal look,
yeah,
and maintain your professional credibility, that is where the real magic happens. Okay. And you will always feel, you won't feel like you're dressing in someone else's clothes if you do it that way.
Yeah.
Some people are more naturally glamorous, you know, even to walk the dog or to, you know, just pop to the shop for, you know, they've got to have a full face of makeup on and they've got to feel glamorous. So there are people at the other end of the scale who say, well, I can't be in slouchy practical clothes. I live in a suit, or I live in heels. So there's a reason that we have scales. You know, there's always one person at one end and one person off the scale. We are all individuals, and this process is not at all about putting people into boxes. It's about giving individuals a framework from which to work so that they can develop their own individual style, because actually we are all individuals, yet society, again, we feel this pressure both externally, and I think to some extent we put it on ourselves, that we need to look or behave a certain way to be socially acceptable, or to get that role that we've gone for, or to seek that external validation. But when we just lean in to the people that we really are and better understand it and better understand how to dress that person, everything else just starts kind of dropping into place. Mm-hmm. And we also understand other people better for it. And because we recognize these things in ourselves, and then we can start to recognize in other people, well, you know, that person, they're not going to want to wear a full suit because, you know, this is their formal and they're in a t-shirt and jeans. Formal means different things for different people. Yeah. And that's perfectly fine.
Do you know what? I'm sold. So where do I sign? What can I do to sort out this absolute clown of a style sense that I have? And if anybody else is interested, what can we do? Can we get some time with you? How does this work, Sarah?
The first thing that I will say is, no negativity allowed. Do not say anything negative about yourself, because
this fine specimen of a clown.
and the reason for this is that we are constantly putting ourselves down, and actually we would not dream about saying, you know, speaking about others in this way, yet we don't hesitate. I don't know if it's the kind of the British part of us, you know, we don't seem to be able to help but put ourselves down. And so what I encourage is, we're only going to say positive things about ourselves, and then the more that we say them, the more that we will think them, and the more confident we will look and feel. When it comes to booking time with me, now I am one of a nationwide network of franchisees with House of Colour. I am based about 15 minutes from Luton Airport, so I'm just on the Hertfordshire-Bedfordshire borders in a gorgeous little village just outside Hitchin. And you can get hold of me via email. So I'm sarah.biancardi@houseofcolour.co.uk, or on the House of Colour. Oh, thank you very much, Gemma, for putting my details down. And if you want to find me on social media, then my handle is @style.cologist. And I'm on Instagram and on Facebook as well. So however you want to get hold of me, whether it's via the website or whether it's via email, phone, I mean, there are no shortage of ways to get hold of people these days, are they? So pick your preferred communication medium, and I will pick it up and respond. But I would love to hear from you, and happy to answer any questions that anyone has as well.
Yeah. So I've really hogged your time because it's just been so interesting, and something that me personally I know very little about. But I really want to open this up to anybody here who's got a question for Sarah. What I'm going to do, you can, you know, as always, guys, you can just wave at me. You can put it in there. I think I saw a question saying, you know, is there any way we can find our tones or something ourselves? Is there a simplistic version of that we can start off with?
I would say there are. So there are ways that you can try and find out what you are online, but they're not going to give you certainty, and they aren't very accurate. The only way that you can guarantee accuracy, and whether you come and see me or go and see another House of Colour consultant, all I beg is that please go and see a House of Colour consultant. As I mentioned, I had my colours analysed with House of Colour when I was 18, and before I bought my own franchise, I thought long and hard and undertook a lot of research, because I thought just because I've been through House of Colour doesn't necessarily mean it's the best on the market. I spent years researching all of the different systems and how colour analysis is categorised and trained, and the client experiences. And I came full circle, because House of Colour is the most robust process. I have no doubt in my mind, and I wouldn't put my name to anything other than the best. And House of Colour is top of class. It absolutely is. So what I would say is, yes, you can attempt to find out online, but it's not going to give you certainty or accuracy. Mm-hmm. Now, you come for a House of Colour consultation to have a colour analysis, you will always be the same season. So this is not going to be something that changes, because the undertones in your skin will not change. What does change is the pigmentation. As we age, we lose pigmentation in our skin and in our hair, and then what happens is we can shift within a season. But these seasons, what it's saying is that a quarter of the colours in the world are going to look incredible on you. So it's guiding you to understand which quarter of the colours in the world look incredible on you. And in reality, it doesn't matter whether you sit at this end of the spectrum or at this end of the spectrum in your season, because all of those colours are going to work for you. What we do just recommend is every sort of 7 to 8 years, or if you feel that your colouring has significantly changed, come back for a re-rate, and we can just see if you shifted within the season, which is, it's not as expensive as sort of coming for the full analysis.
So does everybody just have one season, or could
That's right.
They do? Oh, okay.
Yes.
So spring and a bit of autumn.
You do get people who are sort of sitting on the edge of a season, and it could look like, you know, which way are they tipping? But ultimately,
there is one.
What I said is that we will always catch people who fall between seasons, and we'll get you to the right season, and that will always include the colours that look best on you and that make you look your best. Okay. And it affects things like, you know, shadowing under it's like airbrushing before you've even had to put any makeup on.
Yeah.
So you will need to wear less makeup because your skin tone needs to work a hell of a lot harder in the wrong colours than it does in the right colours. So again, it's going to cut your getting ready time down as well.
Yeah. So you said you were a spring, didn't you say? Did you say you're a spring?
I'm a winter.
Oh, you're a winter.
Yes, yes.
Because I think I'm a spring, aren't I?
Well, are you just guessing or have you been analysed?
Guessing, a total random guess. That could be.
Well, I can't guess, so I'd be very impressed if you can guess.
Okay. Any questions, guys? You got a question for Sarah? Give us a wave. Jen's waving away there. Let me unmute you, Jen. Or you might have to press the button yourself. Hi, Jen. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good,
Hi,
thanks. Hi, Brian. Hi, Gemma. Sarah, this has been absolutely fascinating. I'm loving all of it. So I had a question about, you mentioned glasses earlier, and I'm short-sighted, so I have these sort of ones, but I've got an eye test coming up. I'm wondering if I should get some similar to this. I don't know what they do for me.
Let me just pin you. So this is something that we include as part of our style consultations.
Okay.
So what I would say is drop me an email and we'll have a separate conversation.
Okay.
I can isolate the glasses part because I appreciate that
Right.
you know, you've got your eye test coming up. But what we do is we look at the shape of your face, and what we can also do is, if we understand what your seasonal colours are, then what we can do is look at finding you glasses that are going to be in your seasonal colours as well. We work with an amazing company where they do these beautiful Italian glasses, and we work with your ideal face shape and the colours. They have interchangeable arms so that you can sort of update your glasses look with every outfit depending on what you're doing. So it's a really fantastic product. If you'd like to pick it up separately with me, then please drop me an email and I'm happy to take it offline.
Yeah, I will. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jen. You're offering, is it a 30-minute consultation free of charge where you can just let somebody know what you can do for them and just give them an idea?
That's right, and it's a no strings, no pressure. So really, it's just giving you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have, and you know, there's no pressure. Right? They're very informal. So I can either do it depending on what you prefer. I can either do it over Zoom or I can do it as a phone call, and I can do it sort of evenings and on weekends as well, or during the week depending on what works best for you.
Oh, super! That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your question, Jen. Heidi, you've got a question for us. How are you doing, Heidi?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. I really enjoyed that. Sarah, I live in St. Albans, so maybe
where I grew up.
I've just sent you a message on Instagram and followed you, so maybe we can connect that way. I'm pretty sure I know what my colors are. I used to work with a company called Weekenders years ago, I don't know, before your time probably. So I have a good idea, but I could do some tweaking, so maybe we can get together.
Oh, that sounds super. Well, thank you, Heidi, and I will absolutely follow up on your message. I grew up in St. Albans, so I know it very well. It's my old stomping ground.
I probably know people you know.
Probably do.
St. Albans is like that. Cool, well, I followed you.
It's like a large village, essentially, isn't it?
My email is it's me, Heidi Roberts, so you'll see my Instagram, so you'll see when you check yours. I followed you.
Super. Thank you so much, Heidi. Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. Cheers. Anybody else got a question? Linda, how are you, Linda? Nice to see you. Let me unmute you. You might have to press the button yourself as well.
Mute.
There we go.
Hi. Yeah, good morning, Brian and Sarah, everybody. Right, I just wanted to ask about scarves, because what I tend to do is have a base colour, navy blue, and then play about with scarves. Is that a good thing, or is it?
That's a great thing, because then actually, you know, a scarf is, well, one, it's always going to fit. And two, it adds that sort of point of interest. You can tie them in so many different ways. And actually one of the services we offer is a scarf tying masterclass. Everyone has scarves, no one knows how to use them. And the possibilities are endless. So not only using different scarves, but understanding how to tie them in different ways to create different looks is also something that we offer. So could be of interest to you, but absolutely that's a great way of adding interest. And also anything that you bring, so the more formal the occasion, you want to have something higher to your neckline, and this goes with men for the collars and how how many buttons you're sort of doing up, how much neck you're showing. We want to give ourselves that jugular protection. If we're going for something that's more casual, more approachable, maybe you want to bring the eye down, bring the neckline down a bit.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Linda. Nice to see you. Okay, where are we? We've just got a few minutes left there. And okay, Andrea, how are you?
Hi, Andrea.
I'm good, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. My question is twofold. First off, thank you for the consultation you're offering. It's brilliant. Would that be in person or would that be on a screen like Zoom? And it goes into the second part of the question, which is, do colours change on screen as well?
So the answer is yes to both questions, is the short answer. So for colour analysis, though, this does have to be in studio, in person. It cannot be done online. But for the style element, as I mentioned, it's up to 6 hours, but we can split this. So the great thing, it works beautifully online and it can fit around your schedule as well. So we can do 2 3-hour blocks, or we can do 3 2-hour blocks. We don't need to work with natural light for this, so we can do it in the evenings or weekends to suit. We can be quite flexible, or we can do it, you know, if you're into doing a mammoth Zoom session, then you can do it as a full 6-hour session with breaks. But also it does work in the studio. And sorry, what your second question was about whether colours change on screen. And yes, they can do. It's the tones that can change, and sometimes reds can look pink, and pinks, sometimes you're looking at someone thinking, I am not sure what colour you're wearing, but it's still critical to get the colours right, because even if the colours aren't appearing as they should do on screen, the overall effect when you're wearing colours that harmonise with you, you will still be in harmony. Everything will be in focus, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, because your skin will change obviously on the camera as well. Yeah.
Less shadowing as well, and it can make wearing the right colours can make your jawline and your cheekbones more defined as well. So it can actually give the impression that you've lost weight too, right, if you wear the right colours.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Okay, who else has got a question for Sarah? Oh, Jen, you got another one? Yes, unmute you or press a button. Something. There we go.
Yes.
Hello.
So I was just going to ask, do you know, like, about wearing leggings? It's sort of can be controversial. Would you say you can wear shorts and leggings, or would you rather shorts and tights? Or how do you feel about skirts and leggings?
This is where it really boils down to your style, personality, and your individual style. So it's not necessarily about clothes being wrong or combinations being wrong. It's about understanding what works for you. Now, there are some people who will run a mile from leggings, and other people who will absolutely live in them and wear them with absolutely everything. The other thing to think about is whether they are appropriate for, whether leggings are inherently a more casual look. So is that going to be more or less appropriate than wearing tights, especially if you're going into a more professional environment? Or so there are sort of lots of factors at play. But again, when we understand what your style personality is and your individual style, then we can understand how these kind of things, these nuances can work or work better for you.
Okay, thank you.
Super. Thanks, Jen. Good. So I think we've probably got time for perhaps just one more question. If any fellas got a question, there's Carl and Derek there, looking very fashionable today.
Earphones can also, headphones are also an accessory and a point of interest, so well done.
Oh, yeah, well done, fellas. Yeah, it's actually just you two have got headphones on, isn't it? Yeah, interesting. So have you got a question? Any other questions? We've got, if you haven't got your video on, I can't see you. So you'll have to pop something in the chat thing, but you have to do it very quickly because we've only got just a few moments left there. So
I do have a couple of tips that I can give just about, I'm guessing that everyone's still doing a lot of stuff online at the moment, so a lot of Zoom calls like this. If you're doing anything in a professional environment, if you don't already have one, I can really recommend investing in a ring light. Mine, sorry, dipped off. shortly after the call started, but I've managed to get it working again. As you can see, it really does just sort of make a difference, especially in the absence of natural light. So ideally, you want to position your laptop in front of a window, not behind, or all people will see is your silhouette. You want to have your camera position so that it's slightly higher than head height, pointed slightly downwards. And if you see here, it's not just my face you can see, you can clearly see my whole communication area. So you're giving more of yourself. People will be able to pick up on more body language cues because they can see more of your body. Obviously, you don't want to be sat the other side of the room so that they can hardly make you out, but just about a foot or so away from the table, and giving your camera lens a really good sort of clean. It's the bit that we put our thumbs on when we open the laptop, so often it's the bit that gets the most greasy, and sometimes if you can think, oh, my screen looks a bit smeary and I can't work out why, and it's usually rectified by just a simple wipe. In the absence of a ring light or natural light, any kind of soft lampshade, so like a bedside lamp or something, is going to work well. If you can position it slightly higher than your laptop, it will just take away sort of any shadowing. You can imagine that if I had a light to the side, then I would be getting sort of dark shadows on the other side of my face. So just these little tricks and adjustments. And again, just like with the accessories, none of this stuff costs much money or takes much time, but it does add up to a big impact overall.
Absolutely. No, those are spot on, absolutely spot on. And if you've been on any of these sessions before, you'll know that on our website we have got equipment for self-shooting, ring light just like that. They're really good. They're just USB, and you can dim them as well as get them brighter as well. I'm sure Gems is about to put a link up to the site there with all those tips that Sarah's quite rightly explained there. So really, I think we have to say a massive thank you to Sarah. Should we give her a TV training round of applause there? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, so thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, and you, and don't forget, if you'd like to speak to Sarah, those details are up in that chat. Grab that. I am going to be contacting you very shortly for my 30-minute session, because if anybody I could really do with looking a bit more serious and and clever. Can you make somebody look clever? That's a challenge, isn't it?
Well, I would say that when you dress in alignment with the person that you truly are, then you are naturally going to be projecting more intelligence.
Brilliant.
So
if though that alignment is clown, I don't know. Anyway, Sarah, once again, thank you so much. It's been really, really interesting. I've learned so much myself today as well. I always do this. I'm going to put you on the spot. Will you come back and talk to us again one day?
That would be my absolute pleasure. I would love to. Yes, please.
Oh, how lovely. Thank you very much. A verbal contract is binding and we have witnesses. So, Sarah, from the House of Colour, thank you so much. And everybody, thanks for joining us. You know where we are. We'll see you again on one of the Saturday seminars we have. Of course, we have one-on-one sessions available on Zoom, and we have the online course. The online course is going up in September. So if you want to jump on that, go to tvtrainingacademy.com and have a look. And we will be launching a brand new website in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And we will let you know, because it's all flashy with whistles and flutes. But that's it from us here today. Thanks again to Sarah. What an awesome session. Stay safe for everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll speak again soon. Cheers.
Thanks so much. Take care, everyone. Bye. Bye, Brian.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.